Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester. And I'm sure you are too because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel is Manifesting Magic, the practical way, because I do talk about a lot of practicalities. You know, some of that stuff you just gotta do. You might not want to do, but you probably gotta do it, right? Nonetheless, and then you can learn how to have fun with some practicalities, right? So let's talk about a big practicality that a lot of people discuss all the time, right? And let's talk about working when you've reached a spiritual awakening and what the workplace means to you, right? So I've outlined 5 reasons why the workplace, the 9 to 5, is one of the most challenging things for a lot of people, especially those that consider themselves spiritually awakened or a chosen one or um, a healer, a light worker. People in that type of realm have a really hard time with 9 to 5s, right? And I'm just one of them. There's several out there. But one of the biggest things, so this is outside the 5, but one of the biggest things that I find with the 9 to 5 that is a real problem for people is that you have to minimize yourself way too much in order to get along with the environment, right? Because once you become awakened and you understand certain things about life and you're not taking your day-to-day little woes too seriously and you're not making a big deal out of things that aren't going to be important to you in a few weeks, and you're focusing on your goals and you're staying in line with all that stuff. Many times the workplace is not the environment for that, because when you step through the threshold of a workplace, when you go into the environment, when you sign the contracts and you get the positions, you are essentially tagging along on somebody else's projects and dreams. There's nothing wrong with that, right? I've helped a lot of people's projects and dreams, and a lot of people have helped in my projects and dreams, right? But you have to keep that in mind, that environment is not interested in your personal or professional development, that does not complement or impact what you're doing currently for them, right? And if it's somehow seen as an interference of some sort or a distraction, then you're really in trouble, and you just got to keep it all to yourself all the time, right? So it's too much minimizing. It's exhausting. You come in a place and someone asks you about, say, something like vaccinations for COVID. You might be like, I don't believe in that. I'm not doing that. I don't have to make a big stink about it, but I ain't doing that, and I ain't wearing no mask. That might be your attitude. I respect it. That is another person's mindset. They get to do what they want. It's all in humans on earth, right? So you may feel that way, but you can't bring that into the workplace in an environment where everybody's, oh, did you get your vaccination? Did you do? And I'm like, this is an old subject, so it's kind of easier to share. But that is the thing. And so you might decide, okay, well, I'm just going to keep that to myself. And every single day, every single moment, every interaction, and as it continues and continues, you'll find on a regular basis that you're constantly tucking pieces of yourself in order to get along with the larger group. So number 1 is, it takes too long to make good money for most. A lot of people want to make good amount of money. They want to make enough money so that they can travel, they can have freedom, they can send their kids to vacations, and they can do things for family members. They can buy gifts and not on credit. They want that freedom that financial abundance brings. That is not found in the workplace very often, right? Unless you're doing 2 of those bad boys, but we're not going to talk about that today. If you're doing more than 1 of those bad boys, then you might be good. But when the stakes are so high, so you have to sit at a desk from 9 to 5 each day, that's a lot of hours. It's like your peak potential of working and creating and developing hours, right? That you're handing over to another institution. That amount of time and energy would yield so much more money if it were you working on your own projects and not the projects of the institution that you happen to be a part of in order to feed your kids at that particular time, right? And so you hear about all these things about how you can make more money in the environment, but it's not always the case, right? Number 1, it takes too long to make good money. You got to go through too many bureaucratic hoops for promotions and working with other parts of the company. Some companies are even so bad that they don't even allow employees to search around the company, like it's taboo. It's like, oh, you applied for another position over there. It's like, why wouldn't you want me to go and see if I want to do something else that I might enjoy, right? So it takes too long. And number two is the petty work dynamics. A lot of people have trouble with work dynamics and the pettiness that sometimes comes with it. And a lot of times, a lot of the workplace pettiness that we talk about is dealing with um that was a long pause. I was thinking about something else and then I changed my mind. I was going to say something else and I changed my mind. It's just the politics in the workplace. It's just like, there are these little kooky people that get in every environment and they're so kooky, but they do their job. But so nobody bothers them, right? And so then you have to do all of these workarounds with these little weird people. I've had them at so many different places I've been. Um, People don't want to see you do things that they do, but they don't do it that well, and you want to do this project, and you just like, well, I need a graphic designer, but the actual graphic designer we have is not that good for this project that I'm working on. So I'm gonna do the graphics myself. You get emails later of people questioning, why did you make graphics? Why did you, not, collaborate with the graphics team in order to develop your graphics? It's like, dude, everything doesn't take a freaking team. It's at least petty little inconsistencies. And if you're a person like me, you find yourself hitting the wall with them all the time. You just do. You don't mean to, but you just think some rules are silly and some ideas are silly. And you're like, this is not, why are we doing this? And everybody's looking at you like, and I'm like, this is dumb. As long as we establish this is dumb, I don't mind going along with it if it's for the greater good, So it gets real petty. Number three is there's a lack of desire. A lot of people who consider themselves chosen ones, or spiritually awakened, or healers, or light workers, or metaphysicians. There's a lack of desire to treat others like coworkers, right? I'm sorry, to treat coworkers like family. That's a huge push in the workplace, right? Coworkers like your family, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's a mind manipulation, a mind, you know what? I'll keep those 4 letters to myself. It's a manipulation. It's just kind of telling you that when you're at work, you can feel at home, and then that way you don't mind spending all your time and energy and all your effort and all your emotional work. Emotional shadow work is what they call it. You're doing all that in the workplace, right? Stuff that the conversations you're normally having at home with your kids, the conversations you might be having with a spouse. You're sitting around in a workplace trying to make somebody else feel better about some project that didn't go well for them. It's like, dude, I ain't your babysitter. I'm not about to sit here and try to make you feel good about a project. We all fail. We fail all the time. You get back up, you use the stuff that you called a failure, and then you put that on to the next thing and you keep going. But I mean, this whole family and, coworker thing like that. Let's go out for drinks afterwards. Let's go to dinner. Let's go to lunch together. Let's have a picnic together, a barbecue, a cookout. And I'm like, let's just be honest. None of us would be hanging together if we didn't work at this place together. So why are we pretending as if we have some camaraderie that's outside of, let's get these tasks done for this company we work for? That's it, right? So people who are awakened or spiritually aware have a hard time with, my coworkers are my family. Now that's different if you actually find some community and you actually find connections. But it's like the fake work. We're not about to do the fake work. You're not about to do the fake work. Number 4 is you might find that you're unable to lower your vibe enough to fit in. And it's not that you should. But the reason why, okay, so many places you go into an environment, you might go to work or give your services. The biggest issues with them is that, one of the biggest issues is that they're really low vibe environments, right? Like they're environments that don't really tap into the larger version or the larger person that you are on the inside. They don't want you to feel too good and too excited and too expanded, because when you feel that way, well, you're just like, hey, I don't need this job. I'm about to go do something else, right? Life is short. I'm about to go do all the things that I think are fun. I don't want to be on my deathbed saying all these things I wanted to do, I didn't do when I was able-bodied, young and healthy, because I'm so afraid that this little tiny structure that I put together in this environment might fall apart, whatever. You're unable to lower your vibe because, okay, lowering your vibe puts you in a position to where you're constantly having to do the dumb down thing and to meet everybody else where they are, but they're not able to meet you where you are. And you know what that makes you? Exhausted, right? It's like when you are a kid and you're walking with adults and they have a much wider gait, a much longer stride, and they're walking forward and you're just using the same stride as them, but you're getting left behind constantly. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. So I can remember very clearly of trailing behind bigger people all the time. Like, it's a real clear memory, and just always trying to not be left behind. And I remember always thinking, like, you have to keep up with the adults. And so that is exhausting for little kids, right? And when I had my daughter, my youngest one would tell me, why are we walking so fast? And I was like, you're right. And she would be so exhausted. And I'm like, we're not really walking fast, but we need to meet each other somewhere in the middle. So I need her to pick up her pace a little bit. And then I will, slow my pace a little bit. In the workplace, it's not always that case. They're not always going to think, let me raise my vibe and energy and open myself to new conversations and creativity and a metaphysical thought process and have a conversation about that kind of stuff. And then I'm not thinking like, well, let me not go to the top of the knowledge that I have in this area. Let me come down, where that's the case all the time. But you rarely get the opportunity where you are the one that's being brought up to a new level, or people are meeting you where you at, right? It's very hard to lower your vibe to fit in. And if you're vibing too high, you make people feel weird, right? Like, you come in, you make people feel like they're not doing enough, and you don't mean to, but that's just kind of like a human reaction, right? Have you ever gone into a workplace and you started dressing and carrying yourself a certain way, and when you walked into the place, you noticed that nobody else was? And then about a month or two after you being there, you notice everybody stepping up the way that they're looking and all that, because because you pay attention to things. And so you'll see this kind of thing happen, but they'll never tap you and say, oh, I'm so inspired by this and that. The vibe is too low. When the vibe is low, what should be inspiration turns into copycatting. That's all, When the vibe is high, someone can say, I'm so inspired by that. When the vibe is low, they just copy it and keep their mouth shut and act like they came up with it. That's what people do. And number 5 is you want to pursue your own projects. When you're sitting at the 9 to 5 and doing that work, even if you have one of those positions to where I've been a security guard and everything, where you have nothing to do all day for the position, it's still not easy to go do your own thing because your mind is on loan to this company, It's like working from home, and you have one of the work from home positions to where they want to know where you're at all day. Oh my God, I had one of those. And it was like, can you jump on a quick Zoom? Can you jump on a quick? No, I can't do any of that because I'm not available to you every second of the day. I got my projects. I know what I need to work on. I'll do it later. I'll do it first thing in the morning, and during the day, leave me alone because I already did my work, right? That's not a lot of 9 to 5s. They want you and your full attention and everything attached to you for that particular time. So even though you can be there and trying to work on other projects and trying to do other things, it's really hard to get out of that matrix while you're sitting inside of it, right? So if you are spiritually awakened, which I think you probably are because it happens several times in our lives, if you're a person on a path to getting to understand and know who the truest version and the most authentic version of yourself is, and you're inspired by people who are living in that truth all the time, then you already know that the 9 to 5 is going to be something that's very tricky for you, right? It has to be a very special 9 to 5. And I say that as a person who's not a 9 to 5 or who's doing a 9 to 5 right now, and many other things, by the way. But this 9 to 5 is strategically placing me in an environment, an area to do something else that I really want to do next year. And I will honestly say it's taking everything out of me to not constantly think of getting out. Because I'm like, wait, you got a plan. You're trying to. So it's not even about the money, because the money's not even that great from this. You got to have several streams of income. It's the strategic positioning and the name that's attached to it and what I know it'll do later on. And I think that I'm here for a reason right now, because if I didn't, I'd be gone in 2 seconds, right? So I'm realizing these things because I've been around a lot of people all my years, and they've worked a lot of jobs, and I was never a person that was at a 9 to 5. And I just never knew what that was like. And I'm just like, that seems like torture. And I just could never commit to it. Mind you, I've done well in my life, and I've gone through many different environments and developed many parts of myself without sitting at a desk. And I've done it more recently for short periods of time. So I did it for about 2 years, a couple of years ago, and it positioned me for what I'm doing now. And so I have an expiration date. what do they call it? An escape plan, because I think that you should always have that if you want to work on your own projects, because you're just not going to have enough time to do it. Your brain will be exhausted. You'll use all your good brain power for the projects that you're doing for the workplace, and then your own brain power projects, you're going to put them on a back burner and relax in the evening because it feels good and you should be relaxing. And but the biggest thing to remember is that the 9 to 5 is going to be hard work for you once you become spiritually awakened. It's like you get excited and you're like, oh, yeah, you go in a little place and you're like, yeah, I got this little position, this and that. You start to seeing them people every single day, 5 days a week, and listening to the monotony of the lives they have that are nothing's going on in. You'd be like, what am I doing sitting here? This is so out of body. And then you should remember, I have an exit plan, an exit strategy. I'm working on this thing. It is a strategic placement. It is for a financial income, because most people are doing it for that reason. If it's not a strategic move, it's a financial move. And then you think, how can I use this to the best of my ability? Because they're using you up to the best of their ability. So how can I use this company to the best of my ability in order to finish laying a foundation for my own projects and my own abundance and my own life and the things that I want to create outside of these 9 to 5s, And that's for people who aren't attached. Because if it's something that you're attached to and it's some type of creative work, then this may not even apply in any kind of way. Normally with creative people, though, you get in environments where people leave you alone. So it ain't even like a 9 to 5, right? It's just that you're working for someone else. So that is all I have right now, right? I just wanted to share that. I was about to eat something and drive on out. And I was like, let me do this video before I start moving and things get a little more hectic in the afternoon, right? I hope y'all having a wonderful, wonderful day, and that you're just enjoying life and you're enjoying everything that the life has to offer, and that you are manifesting magic, and that you're using these tools that you're learning. Because I know you're subscribed to a whole bunch of other YouTube channels out there, and you're liking and sharing the videos of people and that kind of thing. And so do mine too. And when you're in that space, you start to develop the confidence and the mindset needed in order to take those leaps, right? I'm real good at the leaps. What I have to do is learn when to be still and not take the leap sometime. And sometimes that's where you get to when you get spiritually awakened. You get real good at leaping because it feels so good. It's like, I'm purging. You just dump everything in your house. I'm moving. You just move to another state. I'm letting these relationship go. You just break up with someone. That is the mindset you probably have when you are because you're spiritually awakened. And so that when you get to the place where you are feeling like you're not being fulfilled or you're feeling overwhelmed, you have to make an exit strategy. You have to start telling yourself, you know what? This don't have to be me. This world is abundant. It's plentiful. And there's so many things you can go and do. And it doesn't have to be sitting at somebody's 9 to 5 desk or at a call center or something. I've done call center work too. Collections. I've done that too. I've also done cold calling, selling like siding on the side of houses. And so when you get to the place where you realize there's so many things to do, I don't have to just do this, and you're not worried about what other people are going to think about the moves that you're making, then you can really fall into that full-bodied version of yourself, right? And, I don't have it all the time, but it's enough that I'm happy that I'm experiencing the awakenings on a regular basis, right? Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Keep on manifesting magic. And remember, like, subscribe, share, and that's all for now.